So I'm going to take a 5/8. Here's how we're going to start this. I'm loading my 5/8 in gel, blending gel, stain antiquing medium, any of those kind of products, even retarder if you can't find anything, will make your paint stay wet longer and it's movable. So I'm going to start by shading. I've side loaded my brush in a mix of neutral gray and bittersweet, 1:1. And I'm going to shade along the edge of my tray. I'll do a section between my nests, and then I'm just going to walk it up a bit, and I'll just fade away, slip-slapping into the bird and into the nest. And I don't want to end up here with a plain line, so I always use my finger and just softly smudge away so that there is no bold line. I will come back afterwards and strengthen up my shading as I want, just along my outer edges. But when you're using a gel or a retarder or extender, anything that's going to keep your paint wet longer, you have to allow that time before you go back in there because it will reactivate it. Okay, so I'm going to continue and do the rest of my tray. So you will see it. It's not a biggie if you end up with it, say I'm winging it and then just adding one there. And I'll swing them around and add that there. We're going to shade in this little hollow with our black brown, but he's not dry yet, so I'm just going to go ahead with this guy here right now, and I want to show you. There, I'll just move that around. So I'm going to show you what we're doing to create our nest. It's nothing but a mess, okay? So they really are not to be super neat or any of that. So I will take my liner or a script liner. I've got a number 1 I just grabbed here. But you'll like your script liner. My hand is in front of you over there to try to video, so my hand's always going to be in your way.
It's okay. No, I see it. Okay.
And I can just send this to you. Oh, unless you're just email. It's too big to go in email. So I take that. Now I'm going to just take my dirty liner, and I'm going into some khaki tan. And do you see how I'm just going to, it's going to catch on some of those brown ones I just did. So I just come in from my outer edge and give a few twists, because the nest, of course, is twigs. And I can go back and forth, back into the brown or my bittersweet. And you want to have like a few little twists off the edge. So I like to kind of bring a couple of little curls off the edge. And so I'm back with some khaki tan. I like the edge of the nest, which is, you see we left that dark section there, right? So I like to have a little light around that so it emphasizes that a bit. This guy's got flowers that come back on top again afterwards. And I'm now going to pick up some of my almondine. So we have bittersweet, khaki tan, and almondine in here. And I'm just going to come through and add some of these light ones. And I still quite often take and come back with my bittersweet. And just I kind of mimic a few of the curves so it's like a shadow underneath or a dark twist. And by the time we put our leaves on here, we are going to shade our little nest. So, and again, like our bird isn't in there yet, so you may decide after, well, I'd like to bring a few twigs up in front of the bird too. That kind of always looks nice. So whatever you want to do later, but I don't want you to spend an hour putting little twigs on and everything, and then in the big picture afterwards, we're going to throw a pile of flowers and leaves back on top, and you're going to be like, well, why did I do that? We can always go back and add a few more. You know what I mean? Like if you look at it later on, you say, well, that nest isn't as nice as this nest. I'll add a few more twigs. So it's whatever's your fancy, but you can play with that afterwards. once your leaves are on and your flowers are on, you can always go in and pull in a few more twigs. All right? So that's our nests. We're going to go ahead and do those. He's not under the camera for them.
There.
All right, so what we're doing for our shading is we will shade along the bottom of a leaf. I'm not concerned about the leaf being in front of my flowers. That's not an issue. And I'm going to shade along there. So what we're doing is we're shading along the bottoms, or quite often I call it the base of the leaf. And then what we do is we'll come back and we will shade down the middle of our leaves. But we can't shade down the middle of our leaves unless it's dry. So what I would be doing is I would be going across the board and shading on the other leaves at this point in time. But I can't. I just can't. We've already tried that. So I gave a quick dry. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to shade down the middle of the leaf. Do you see how it separates our leaf?
So it's the same color, Wendy?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is all our shading.
You do like a bottom and then down
Yeah.
the middle. Okay.
So this is separating our leaf. So with the shading, now like I say, this is breaking it up into steps, right? Some people like to do the press and slide. Other people prefer to shade and highlight, so you have your options. So we've done that. Now I can go in and do my highlight. The highlight is listed for you, and it is aloe. And if you feel like the aloe is just a little bit too light for you, you could add a bit of avocado to it. Some people aren't able to put on just a light shading. You know, like some people have a little heavier touch. So they may find, and I always, nice and soft, you can go ahead and shade down the middle, the opposite side. And if you have your mop, nice and soft, you can mop it out. On something like this, we've got where this leaf is on top of that leaf. Is my head in your way there, Patty? You can go ahead and you can shade. See how that separates? Lifts that leaf up off of the other. Nice and soft. But you don't want it to be bold. And if you have a hard time doing a soft float, then mix a little bit of the base coat color in with it. So you see how those are nice and softly shaded. So you have your option, kind of nice and soft. Bring a little bit of this highlight out a little bit more, so it doesn't look as lined, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Sort of. You don't wet that brush?
No,
always
that's
dry.
always dry brushing.
Okay.
So yeah. All right, so that's your options. You can shade. Oh, Kim.
Decisions.
I'm going to show the double loaded choice of leaf if you prefer. So I'm going to double load my brush for these ones. It tells you your shading color and your base coat color. So I have double loaded my brush, and you ladies are not going to see this, but you've seen it. Double load, press, and slide. Double load, press, and slide.
If you need some? No, I have. Oh, okay, because I've got a cubby if anyone.
That might have been a blueberry.
Because I've got. You already got it?
No, there is.
Oh, there is some?
I feel like, yeah, I bought one.
The only thing I don't have is with wildberry and I probably have sapphire blue.
Yeah, those are.
Sapphire blue?
Oh, okay.
I have sapphire blue. You want to choose out of it? Okay. You want
Sapphire blue and
sapphire, yeah, sapphire is, it's just a sapphire, right? It isn't sapphire blue?
Yeah, just sapphire.
Yeah, okay. If you have cubbies, you can take some, Nancy.
So it's all press and slide.